welcome to another episode of the BioHub.
Right.
Today, we're joined by Joe Payne, CEO and founder of Arcturus Therapeutics. Joe has been instrumental in pushing the boundaries of mRNA technology, leading Arcturus to develop one of the first self-amplifying mRNA COVID-19 vaccines and pioneering new treatments for diseases like cystic fibrosis. In this episode, Joe shares his journey, the groundbreaking work at Arcturus, and his vision for the future of RNA medicine. So let's dive in. So first of all, welcome, Joe. How are you?
Good, Max. It's good to be with you.
So
I'm doing great.
Joe, just to start off, I just want to go back to your journey. And you have an impressive track record in drug discovery and development. What inspired you to take the leap and found Arcturus?
Well, I guess it was 11 years ago. I thought there was a great opportunity to start a messenger RNA or an RNA-based therapeutics company because it was a young field that was very challenging. At the time, large pharmaceutical companies were actually leaving the field, and yet I knew from my personal experience that this is likely going to work and be very transformational. So I took the entrepreneurial leap about 11 years ago with the co-founder, Dr. Pad Chivakula, and we're still working closely together here 11 years later. But that was the impetus, is we saw a huge opportunity to disrupt medicine.
I think when we spoke last time as well, that it wasn't easy when you guys first started out in terms of cash in the bank, and all of that.
Correct. Yeah, our story is not what would you call a typical biotechnology startup venture. We only had $15,000 to work with at the beginning, so it was a very small investment, but we had considerable experience in the field. We quit our jobs and started out in an incubator space and had a small amount of money, but it was enough to
I find that so interesting. And when you look at the market today and what companies are doing, and especially like you look at cell and gene therapy, the cost there, etc. What you guys did was pretty outstanding with that little amount of cash.
Yeah, it didn't provide a long runway. It didn't give great salaries or anything like that, but we did identify and discover some really interesting technologies in the first few months of the company's existence. And then we immediately applied those technologies to collecting meaningful data that was significant enough to garner attention from pharmaceutical partners and potential strategic partnerships that provided us some non-dilutive funding monies that could help us raise millions of dollars in the first couple years. But we did not start with a large round of cash, and that's what you normally see in startups. We didn't have that luxury. We didn't come from the business side. We came from the science side. So we were strong in the science, but we did not have immediate connectivity to large amounts of money. So we had to create that with data and through partnerships. So it was a unique foundation to the company, but one we're proud of, that it was bootstrapped, it was entrepreneurial, and it was founded on great science and innovation.
Nice. Out of interest, how much runway was that?
Oh, just a few months. Yeah, that we did. But we were just naive enough, just crazy enough to quit our jobs. Think, there's no way I would redo that. But back then we were just, you need to be a little bit of crazy when you're an entrepreneur. It's a risky business, and it's also rewarding if you're right and if you work hard. And so it turned out to work it worked out really well. So no regrets, but I wouldn't recommend it, doing the same thing over again. There's a lot of things.
That's interesting. I think we'll come back to those kind of things that you did differently. But let's just talk about the mRNA technology. So what sets Arcturus apart from the other players in mRNA and RNA?
Yeah, so we discovered a delivery technology early in the company's existence that's called Lunar. This is a lipid nanoparticle technology, these tiny spheres of lipids that encapsulate and surround these beautiful RNA molecules and take these RNA molecules to where they need to be safely and effectively. So we discovered a delivery technology called Lunar that's different from what everyone else is doing. It's chemically different. It's biodegradable. It's highly optimized for specific cells or tissues. So we have that technology, foundational technology that's different from the competition. We also have a purification, a suite of purification intellectual property and patents that allow us to purify these large RNA molecules. And this is very, very important. Early in the messenger RNA field, there was some observed toxicology, and people thought it was the RNA's fault. But what we've come to learn as a community, it wasn't the RNA. The RNA is perfect, it's natural, it's beautiful, it's not toxic. What was toxic was the impurities. So the field learned that together, we did as well. So in addition to properly modifying the mRNA molecule, we elevated our technology in purifying these molecules. It's not the most exciting message, but it's a very important one that you need to have purification patents and a process that has very pure mRNA molecules. And finally, in addition to the RNA innovation and the delivery innovation, you got to combine these together. How do you combine lipids and RNA together to make these beautiful, sophisticated, yet complicated products? And that's a manufacturing process that's very novel. And so we have a lot of know-how and intellectual property in the manufacturing of these mRNA lipid nanoparticle therapeutics. So bringing these entities together in a controlled manner
That's
is
amazing.
something we do very well.
And then, talking about your COVID vaccine, which is just no small feat. Can you just tell us a little bit about the journey of developing and launching in Japan, and what the key milestones were on that front?
Yeah, I think I'm glad you mentioned it's no small feat. There was well over 300 companies that pursued a COVID vaccine in the height of the pandemic, and just a very small number has crossed the finish line to become approved platforms that can potentially benefit many people with a new and next generation vaccine technologies, right? So it was not a small feat for sure. We did it with a lot of help from a lot of countries. So we did not have a contract with the United States government. So there's many countries in the there's many biotech companies in the United States that have back before the pandemic, they had contracted relationships with the government. And when the pandemic arose, the government reached out to their contractors to see who can immediately make something. And we weren't one of those people at the table. So we didn't have access to Operation Warp Speed money and et cetera, like others did. However, there's many other countries in the world that were suffering and concerned of the epidemic breaching into a pandemic. And one of them was Singapore. And Singapore reached out to us. They knew we had this next generation mRNA technology that was exciting, and they wanted to evaluate it, and they provided us some initial funding to launch the COVID vaccine project. So we had initial help from the country of Singapore. And then as that matured through phase 1 and phase 2 trials, the country of Vietnam also worked together with us to help fund a very large study there. And then finally, Japan. Once we went through phase 1 and 2 in Singapore and phase 1, 2, and 3 in Vietnam, there was follow-on and multiple phase 3 trials that we've conducted in Japan to directly compare our vaccine to the other approved or unapproved mRNA vaccine to see how we compare. And thankfully, we performed very well in these trials. They were considered very successful, and we showed superior immunogenicity and higher levels of antibodies and a broader spectrum of antibodies and an extended duration of these antibodies and checked a lot of boxes of success in these phase 3 trials in Japan. So we did not do this alone, for sure. We had to choose an ambitious global path that went through Singapore, Vietnam, and Japan to get this next generation mRNA vaccine approved. But we're excited that we're here, and we look forward to getting this vaccine into
that's
Europe
kind of my
and
next question
US.
as well. You answered it a little bit there about why Japan rather than the US. But what are the next steps after this? You've gone to Japan and Asia.
Well, we after we collected this, almost 20,000 subjects of data with our platform technology, we shared that with many potential partners. And a couple of years ago, we executed a significant vaccine deal with a company called CSL out of Australia. And the CSL is one of the big players in the vaccine space, especially the flu shot. So they're very well known in that area for endemic vaccines, and they're a global player. They have distribution globally. So they were an ideal partner for us to partner this vaccine with them. And so after that partnership, CSL is going to be driving the path to commercialization in Europe and US under their stewardship. It's licensed to them for that purpose.
We spoke about this a bit last time in terms of how superior your COVID vaccine is to others. Can you just explain the difference and what advantages it actually offers as well?
Yeah. So the key difference in our vaccine technology versus others is that we use a technology called self-amplifying mRNA. This is the next generation mRNA technology that I referred to. And it's very important in the vaccine space that the body, the immune system, sees the antigen for an extended period of time. So that is what the vaccine business is all about. It's about the body, helping the body build or make neutralizing antibodies to a specific virus, right, or an antigen. And so what our technology does that's different to conventional mRNA vaccines that everyone is now familiar with is that self-amplifying mRNA extends the time for the body to see that antigen. And the immune system is very similar to the central nervous system, the brain. The brain is in the business of remembering stuff it sees so that it can recall it when it sees it again. The immune system is the same process. It's about memory, how we can help the body see an antigen, memorize it, and develop antibodies to protect your body against it for the next time it sees it. And so self-amplifying mRNA, when it enters your arm, it makes the antigen for 1 to 2 weeks rather than 1 to 2 days like conventional mRNA. And that is a key difference. So when the body sees the antigen for an extended period of time, it allows a stronger immune response, a more extended, longer lasting immune response. And this is what is ideal for a vaccine product. You want a strong, robust immune response that's long lasting to protect the person that is injected with this technology.
And then, even beyond your COVID-19 vaccine, your pipeline's pretty broad and pretty strong. What else are you focusing on? And also, how do you see these technologies revolutionizing, these treatments?
Well, our differentiating technology in the vaccine space is the self-amplifying mRNA technology that we call STARR, STARR. This is self-transcribing and replicating RNA technology. So our STARR technology is what differentiates us in the vaccine space. And so we can work with CSL with up to 5 programs there. We're working with them on COVID and flu and other respiratory infectious disease vaccines. And then outside of that, Arcturus is looking at additional vaccines that we can apply this technology to. One thing I want to emphasize with our STAR technology, the self-amplifying mRNA technology, it's a very, very low dose technology. So our dose level is 5 micrograms, and our competitors are 30, 50, 60, or even 100 micrograms of conventional mRNA. So because our dose level is very low, that has obvious benefits for cost of goods and manufacturing, but it also means less stuff is injected. And that could have potential safety benefits down the road as we continue to collect data for this low dose technology. Anything dose related, any toxicology that's dose related should benefit Arcturus and our self-amplifying mRNA technology because it is a low dose level. But another benefit of having a low dose is that we consider our technology multi-antigenic, which means we can put many antigens into one vaccine. And if you're going into your local clinic to get a vaccine, why not get protected against multiple pathogens at the same time? So this concept of combining multiple antigens into one shot is very attractive, and we're investigating the potential of that in our technology with viruses, right? But in bacteria are different than viruses. Like if you go to your computer now and say, hey, I want to get vaccinated to protect myself against all these bad things out there, all the vaccines right now are protecting against, or at least the lion's share of them are protecting against viruses, not bacteria. Why is that? Why are all the vaccines being developed by the industry protecting against viruses but not bacteria? It's because bacteria are more complicated than viruses. Viruses are very simple. So you can have a vaccine that expresses or makes an antigen that protects you. One antigen, just like COVID, you make one antigen and it protects you against the COVID virus. But bacteria is different. It's a more complicated bug. And you need many antigens infused into your vaccine to protect against bacteria. So Arcturus, we are applying this exciting new next generation mRNA technology to antibacterial vaccines. So bacterial vaccines protecting against things like Lyme disease and potentially gonorrhea or other bacteria that people would like to be protected against.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I just I want to take it back to what we were talking about at the start as well, about Arcturus's journey. Can you just go through some of the challenges you faced, but also some of the wins that you had throughout the years?
Some of the challenges, well, whenever you're an entrepreneur, the list of challenges that you faced and overcame are very long. So I could speak for this for hours, but we have first of all, we had a funding challenge. We started the company with only $15,000. Everyone smart in this space knows that that's usually applied to something like a t-shirt company, not a biotechnology company. So how are we going to get funded? So we had to bootstrap the company, get key data very quickly, and enable partnerships to provide that funding for the company early on, and get family and friends participating in early rounds of financing. So there was some unique challenges in funding the company early in the company's history. Once we had data, that changed with validating partnerships, and we could enter into a more substantial round of funding. Then there was the process of accessing the public markets. We went through a unique reverse merger rather than a traditional IPO, but we got access to $36 million of unencumbered funds that way, which is good. That's one way to address some of our funding challenges, but it also opened the door of how do we now adjust our what's called the capitalization table and get institutional investors into the story and get high quality Wall Street investors. And that's a lot of work. So we had to really roll up our sleeves and hit Wall Street and get that story out there. And it wasn't just a few weeks. It was, I'd say, a couple of years of really getting people to know who we are. And so that was definitely a unique challenge for us. But we made it through. We ended up doing multiple rounds and raising hundreds of millions of dollars in Wall Street. we hired the right people. We continue to have challenges getting as you grow the company. It's easy when you're a two-person company. You trust each other, you have complementary skills, you know exactly what you can do and how to leverage it. But as you grow, you need to fill gaps in the organization with quality people that are humble, positive, and talented and competent, and for that particular role. So there's challenges in finding people. You have to go through that. But here we are today. I like to think we're a well-established, publicly traded company with an approved product in Japan, an exciting pipeline of vaccines and therapeutics now that have readouts next year. And we have just an outstanding set of exceptional talent at Arcturus now. Very proud of the people that we've recruited to this company, highly competent, likable people, and that are really going to help us get to that next stage.
That's so incredible to hear, and especially as a recruiter in the space, finding talent is obviously a really hard part of the job, and being able to sustainably grow is making sure you get that right each time. I just want to talk about how you've built a strong company culture throughout that, which is such a crucial topic at the moment. How have you cultivated the culture at Arcturus, and what do you believe is the key to maintaining it as it grows?
Yeah, I think every company you talk to will claim that they have a good culture. At least that's what I found. No, I haven't met a CEO out there that says, "Oh, the culture at my company is lousy and I'm to blame." Right? So this is something you hear all the time. Oh, we've got a great culture. We got a great culture. What we do at Arcturus that's truly different from every other company that I know is that we reward it. Every company I've met rewards competency, and we do the same thing. So at the end of the year, we have awards for exceptional innovation or an exceptional accomplishment that gets rewarded. There's a plaque, there's a check, there's a high five, there's a stage. This is something that's very common with every company. But what is not common, what I haven't seen, frankly, is giving the same amount of attention and spotlight and award and recognition to those that foster your culture. And we do that at Arcturus. We have what's called a likability award. And this is actually a statistical fact that companies that are humble, approachable, and positive are much more successful than the opposite, which would be arrogant, negative, and have approachability issues. So we learned this from many surveys over the years and many consultants like McKinsey, for example. So this is well established that you have to incur these values of humility and positivity and approachability into the company. So what we did is we put it into an award called the Likability Award. Now, this is not a popularity award. It's not who's cool and who's funny and who's attractive, although those are good things. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about humility, approachability, and positivity. It's called the HAP principle, HAP. So we infuse this HAP principle into the company, and then we reward it. And it's rewarded by the peers. So the management team doesn't select this person. It's selected by the peers of the company. They truly select the person and provide rationale why this person is the most humble, approachable, and positive. And then they get a big plaque. They get a big check, the same size check as the person that's very exceptionally competent. So at the end of the year, we reward competency and likability. We just don't talk about culture. We actually reward good culture. Does that make sense? And I think that's differentiating at Arcturus. Very few companies have this sort of concept.
I remember when you first mentioned this to me, how much I really liked it. And I think it's a great way about going about it. And you even said, like, we don't talk about culture, and something like this, because culture is behaviors, isn't it, really, when you break it down? I think something like this really starts to distill it across the company and show this is what we're all about. And it's not necessarily just listing values on a wall. It's, this is actual, there's award, there's cash up for grabs because of this is who we are, which I really liked.
Yeah, we have multiple strategic pillars at Arcturus that are very important and unique to us. We believe we hold these cards close. We of course we have exceptional people that we enable and trust to do exceptional things. But we're a culture of innovation that comes from scientific founders that had to innovate in order to create the company under a high pressure situation early in the company's history. So we're an innovative, talented, collaborative team that's going after very high growth opportunities in our pipeline. We have a history of collaboration because that's how we had to in order to survive, to get funded. Early in the company's history, we didn't rely on Wall Street, we relied on pharmaceutical partnerships. So this culture of collaboration and innovation is infused with this likability. And I just wanted to highlight that as if someone had to take a screenshot of what Arcturus is like working here, I would say it's collaborative, innovative, and likable. And it's just a whole bunch of competent, highly skilled people doing what they do. And I genuinely believe, like you'll hear from many CEOs, that Arcturus is a fantastic place to work.
Even from the way you talk about your story, how Arcturus is what it is, the challenges it's come through. There's character in every step of the way, and I love it. What else is there to come? Obviously, you're continuing to grow, you're continuing to innovate. What excites you most about the culture of Arcturus?
Well, I think the disruptive technologies that we're bringing forward, we're just starting that in the vaccine space with our partner CSL, and we have an additional partner in Japan called Meiji that's helping us with distributing and selling our vaccine in Japan. But so we're just at the cusp of disrupting the vaccine space with this self-amplifying mRNA technology. So that's exciting. But we're also just around the corner from potentially disrupting the therapeutics arena with messenger RNA therapeutics. We're one of the earliest or even first movers with intravenously dosed messenger RNA and inhaled messenger RNA. And that is such an exciting opportunity. If we can build proteins in the lung through inhalation, inhaling mRNA molecules, then that isn't just a cool science. That is truly disruptive. That's going to change everything about lung therapeutics. If we can inhale mRNA successfully, there's a lot of diseases that we can go after and make a significant impact there. So I think there's excitement as we enter the commercial phase of in the vaccine space, but there's scientific proof of concept excitement in the phase 2 clinical trials where we're going to be doing things that have never been done before type stuff that really gets our scientific team excited as well. So there's a lot going on. It's a big year for us as we not only continue to launch and advance with our commercial partners our vaccine technology, but as we prove out concepts of injectable RNA and inhaled messenger RNA this year coming up. It's going to be a potentially very exciting one for us. So we're crossing our fingers, knocking on wood, and hope that this
I think it's amazing. Excitement
hopefully.
Every step of the way, from the discovery team to the commercial team. I mean, that's amazing. That's so good. And look, I might catch you off guard with this one, Joe. I don't know if you'll have prepped for it, but it's a question I've been asking at the end of each podcast, which is if there was a scientist or an innovator, past or present, that you could have dinner with for one night, who would it be and why?
A scientist or an innovator? Well, no one's ever asked me that question, so give me a moment to think about it.
I'll tell you, a couple of times people have gone down the route of, like a Steve Jobs or someone like that in terms of an innovator and someone who is disruptive.
Yeah, innovators. I would delineate innovators from visionaries. I think Steve Jobs was an amazing visionary, but for innovation, I would like to have, like when you read of the greatest discoveries of all time, the uh, uh, the greatest discovery of all time isn't what people would think. It was the discovery that washing your hands before assisting with childbirth saves lives. And not just a small amount. We're talking a gazillion of people were saved just by the discovery of washing hands. So I would, the group that came up with that innovation isn't understood tightly. So if I could, since we're talking in Fantasia here, I would like to go to the group that came up and said, hey guys, I think we should wash our hands. And I'd like to talk to them and figure out why they came up with that rationale. Because that simple idea was the most beautiful one to save lives. And I think the most amazing, impactful, disruptive ideas are always beautifully simple. And the thought process to getting there, I think, is what's key. Is how did they get to that point where they're like, hey, let's do this simple experiment to see what happens. So I would talk to that group, even though they're unnamed and
I think
underappreciated,
that's the
but
most
they've made such
incredible
a huge
answer.
impact.
And yeah, you came up with it on the spot, so well done. I mean, that's the most amazing answer. Look, Joe, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Look,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
everyone, please like and subscribe to the BioHub.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again, Joe.